Hello and welcome to the $1 Million Message. This is your Fearless Friday message with Callie DeBlander Brigham, calling from beautiful Pensacola Beach, Florida. And I just want to say thank you so much for the great messages that I got from many of you about my $1 Million Message last week called Just Press Play. We talked about when we don't want to do something, that really all we have to do is that first step, and then all of a sudden we're doing it, and it's all good, and we did it. Yay, celebrate. So I just want to say thank you. You all inspired me and definitely showed me that you're listening, you're taking action, and it's making a difference for you. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a really awesome Zoom it was called the Number Ones, and it was for a Feel the Power event, and Gloria, of course, was on there, Number One NSC. I was on there, and then Lady Compost, who is the Number One in Peru, was on there too. And so we had a really fun conversation, but something stood out to me with one of the questions they asked Gloria, and really the question was, what is one of the keys to success in this business? And she used the acronym STEM. She said for a beauty consultant to grow in this area. Now, it's not the science and technology that we know of sometimes with STEM, but she said it stood for skills, time management, emotional management, and money management. Those are kind of the four pillars of this business. We'll never be perfect, right? Well, they say progress, not perfection. And so I thought, well, goodness, what a great thing to train on, right? So 2 weeks ago, in our virtual weekly event, we trained on skills, about the funnel and how to grow your skills and how to, on your own, learn more about maybe some things that you want to be better in or you want to fine tune. And so we had fun with that. And this past week, we talked about time management. So I thought I would share with you a couple of the things that were shared in our virtual meeting and maybe give you a couple little nuggets today on that topic. And if you're asking, sure, in a couple weeks, we have a week off. We're doing another event. But in a couple weeks, I'll share with you some of the things we learned about emotional management and then money management. So one of our leaders said there are 4 do's and 4 don'ts when it comes to time management. The first is to track your time. And I love this different perspective. Her former career was as a paralegal. And so she says when she tracks her time, she thinks of it like billable hours, right? What can I be doing right now that I can bill my client for? In other words, income-producing activities. Track your time. That was really the be-all, end-all in their business. And you know what? It really should be a huge part of our business too. Number 2, set realistic goals. Isn't that interesting that would be part of time management? But it really is, because when we know we could accomplish it, we're much more likely to be able to fit it in, to find the time. And I've always said time management is energy management. So when we're winning, it's pretty amazing how much we can figure out the time for something. Number 3 is prioritize. Prioritize. That's a huge part of it. Another way of looking at the way I look at that is being proactive instead of reactive. When we know what our priorities are, we know the most important things that we're going to put into our calendar first. It's kind of like putting all the big rocks in the jar first, if you've heard that story. If you put all the big rocks in, then little rocks, then the smallest rocks, you can fill the jar. But if you start with the littlest rocks, the little things that are the time wasters or are other people's agenda, you don't have time for, or you don't have room for very much. And then number 4, include buffer times. The way I look at this is some things take longer than we think. Some things take shorter than we think. I remember I had a beauty consultant. We were doing a time management class long time ago, and I had everybody do a weekly plan in reverse. And I had actually done it for a month, an entire month. So about every hour on the hour, I would stop and write down what I just did. Oh my goodness, that bird's eye view over a month about where I was spending my time was fascinating. Well, I had the consultants do it for a week. I wasn't going to make them do it for a month, but a week. And one of the consultants came back to me. She said, oh, my goodness, this is so fascinating. She said, I always run late. She's like, I just do. And I've always just kind of said, well, that's just how I am. And she said, I realized that I've always thought that it takes me 30 minutes to get ready. So 30 minutes before I need to leave somewhere, I start getting ready. She goes, it takes me an hour. And she said, that's why I've always been late. So she did not allow the proper amount of time for something. Buffer times. Some things are going to take a little bit longer. So if you're stacking things right one after the other, chances are something's going to get off track, and then the whole day gets off track. And then oftentimes we just throw up our hands and our whole week goes off track. Okay, 4 don'ts. Number 1, don't waste time on unnecessary activities. I'm going to come back to that one just a second. Don't waste time on unnecessary activities. My goodness. Are we not all guilty of that? Sometimes it's on purpose. I call that creative avoidance, because we'd rather be busy than productive, right? Because we're avoiding things that maybe are challenging for us or we don't want to do or feel uncomfortable. Number 2, don't procrastinate. Oh, that's what I talked about last week. Just press play. Here is a lie. Are you ready? Here's a lie. It will be easier tomorrow. Nope. No, it won't. It's going to be harder tomorrow. One of my leaders, she sends me her 6 most important lists every night for the next day, and her 6 most important lists from that day with what she accomplished. Well, I'm going to tell on her. It was pretty funny. So she just started doing this. And I noticed she has a list for her business, a list for personal. And I noticed after about 2 or 3 days, it still said on the list, call the dentist. And so I said, all right, what's the deal? What's the deal with call the dentist? I said, are you needing to call the dentist to like sell product to the dentist or something? Or is this literally for a dental appointment? She was like, oh, I've been needing to make a dental appointment since January. I said, this is on your list for 3 days. I said, you have to call the dentist today or I'm calling the dentist. So later that day, she said, I called the dentist and I made appointments for me and my kids. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad, because if I saw that one more time on your list. Well, now when she's got something that is on the list for more than 2 days in a row, we call it the dentist, the dentist item. And I'm like, do I need to call the dentist? No, I'll do it. Don't procrastinate. The lie is that it's easier tomorrow, and it's not. Number 3, don't always say yes. Oh, such a big one for women. Just practice saying no. You could say, no, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. I can't at this time. Maybe later. So there's lots of things that you can do, but no is a full sentence. Have you heard that? And then number 4 is don't multitask. Boy, this is also one that feels like you should be doing it for time management, but in reality, you're not doing anything well, and usually you slip up on something and you're not present. I remember one of the most beautiful things someone ever said about my mom was her best friend, National Sales Director Emeritus Kendra Cross. And she was introducing my mom one time to a group of people. And she said all of her professional accolades. And then she said on a personal level, I just want to tell you that the other day I called Kate. That's my mom. I called Kate, and we were talking. And after a little while, Kate said, what are you doing? She said, I guess I was making some noise on the other end of the phone. And she said, I'm folding laundry. And she said to Kate, she goes, well, what are you doing? And my mom said, talking to you. And she said it was a moment when she realized, you know what? Yes, I could fold the laundry at the same time that I could be on the phone. But the reality was I'm not fully there. And so multitasking is also a lie that I'm going to get more done when I do multiple things at one time. So those were the 4 do's and the 4 don'ts. What I broke down a little bit more was the idea of don't waste time on unnecessary activities. And I went to Stephen Covey, and many of you know his 4 quadrants. So if you were to draw a line down the center of your paper and then another line through it, there's 4 squares, right? The top square is entitled urgent, not important. The next square to the right is called not urgent, important. The square below, let me go back. I'm sorry. I'm not looking at it. So the top left square is urgent and important. My bad. urgent and important. The top right square, not urgent, important. The bottom left square is urgent, not important. And then the bottom right square is not urgent, not important. So basically each one is going to have an urgent and an important. And most of our lives we spend in the top left and the bottom left. Urgent, urgent, urgent. What is that? That's notifications. Your kid left their lunch at home and you've got to, take care of that. It's the doorbell ringing. It's the phone ringing. It's somebody needs something. Somebody didn't plan well. Their poor planning is now your emergency, right? So many parts of our lives we live in the urgent. And let me tell you the sweet spot of them all is the top right quadrant, which is not urgent, important. This is the thoughtful one, the planned out one, the one that says, what can I do today that will make my tomorrow easier? What can I do today that will make my tomorrow easier? I'll just give you an example. Many of you have heard me say that on Fridays as a consultant and new director, I would always work to make sure that I had 5 appointments on my date book by 5 p.m. on Friday, because that was going to make my next week so much better to have those bookings. That was going to make my weekend better. That was going to make everything better. So a lot of times on Fridays, I'll ask myself the question, what can I do today to make Monday better? What can I do today to make Monday better? And so that may be things like before you go to bed, that may be like prepping your coffee, or making your 6 most important list with names and numbers. That might mean on Sunday, making a brain drain for your personal and your professional life, and then assigning it out times for the week, so that you know that on Monday morning, you don't have to get the whole list done. On Monday, you're going to do this particular task. On Wednesday, you're going to do this. Maybe there's some things that you could delegate. My son was born 12 years ago, and as a newborn, I did not love the sound of my phone going off. So I turned my ringer off, and I've never turned it back on. And so that allows me to put my oxygen mask on first, right, to do the things that I am meant to do for my day. And then later on, I can get to the things that other people need. You know what happens usually? By that time, they figured it out themselves, because people are very smart when they choose to be, right? So I also think to myself, when I'm working in the not urgent and important, it allows me to think about working on my high energy times. We all have them. They fluctuate throughout the day. And so sometimes I'll purposefully make sure that I schedule things that are a little more challenging, take a little bit more mental or emotional capacity, or just a little bit more intense, or I have to be really on. I will schedule those for the times that I typically have the most energy. And then maybe I'll schedule my downtime or other things on things where I just tend to not have a little bit more. So the last thing that I want to share on this, and by the way, one of my favorite books on how to sort of figure out how to have the right habits that give you the right time management that lead to the best results is a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I highly, highly, highly recommend that book. So the last thing that I want to share is I just want you to know that when it comes to time management, this is a hot point. This is like your mama talking. So I'm going to step on some feelings and some toes, and that's okay. But I just want to let you know that in our business, flexibility of schedule is not a right. It's earned. Flexibility of schedule is not a right. It is earned. And by that I mean sometimes you have to work a bunch of Saturdays in a row to have Saturdays off the rest of your life. Sometimes you have to work a little bit longer, a little bit more intense, maybe a few nights, maybe giving up a couple of things that you normally would have loved to do, so that the rest of your life you can do the things you want to do when you want to do them. Short-term sacrifice, and I hate to even use that word, short-term choices for long-term choices. And so if you're at a point right now where you're like, well, I just want all the flexibility in the world, well, that is a beautiful thing. But sometimes you're going to have to buckle down, sister, and do a little bit more for a little while so that the rest of your life you can have all of the freedom and flexibility that you want that comes with your schedule and comes with time management. So I hope that these time management tips have given you just a little something. They're not life-shattering, trust me, but just a little something that you can set the tone for your day. So pick one, and let's work on it this next week. You can message me and let me know how it went. Have a beautiful day, and on this Friday, or if you're listening Saturday or Sunday, say, what can I do today to rock it out so that my Monday thanks me? Have a great day. Bye.